Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome to Satsang. When you say I, to what are you referring? When you begin to ask this question, you are at the very beginning of inquiry. Most of you, at this point in inquiry, are referring to a pattern of experiences, memories. Mostly you are referring to your past. Some of you are referring to the sensations that you experience as a body. So sight, taste, touch, smell, the ways in which we seem to experience the world. And you relate to yourself this me-ness, this I-ness, as the ways in which you react to the experiences of tasting, touching, smelling, and so on. I like this, I don't like that. I prefer this, I don't prefer that. This is pleasant, this is unpleasant. I want to push away what is unpleasant, and I want to get more of what is pleasant. This is to relate to oneself via the senses, isn't it? Some of you, referring to I, are talking primarily or referencing primarily the thoughts that go through the mind. So you are the thinker, the planner, the doer, the list maker. The organizer. And all of this goes on quite naturally, doesn't it? It goes on from a very early age. We are conditioned by our societies, our social order, our culture, our parents, our teachers, to do things in a certain way, to think in a certain way, to perceive the world in a certain way, to perceive ourselves in a certain way. So when I ask you, to what or to whom are you referring? When you say I, you reference these experiences in world, in body, in mind. And you may not have recognized yet that there is no I. So one can say that what you are doing each time you reference I is putting on a suit of clothes. The suit of clothes which you believe to somehow be related to this experience, to this direct knowing that you exist. And when you believe in these suits of clothes very firmly, this is what you project everywhere you go. Not only trying to get yourself to know, believe that you are somehow your experiences, your thoughts, your sensations, but trying to get the rest of the world to go along with however you perceive yourself to be. There's a great deal of suffering involved in this process, isn't there? You may have noticed. And a great deal of effort to maintain this facade, to keep saying to yourself and to the world, this is who I am. But what the inquiry is really about, in many ways, is investigating the ways in which you reference this I-ness and the ways in which you cloak it in identity. It's not necessary that you recognize all of the ways in which you project identity or in all the ways in which you identify. But it is important to notice that this is the habit of the mind, to move from this direct perception of your own existence into a projection of what you think that existence should be or ought to be. To ask the question, who am I? Or to what am I referring when I say I? Is to know something about how this projection works. Not everything. It's not necessary to know everything. It's only necessary to know that this projection is there. And recognizing that this is a projection, drop it. Become unwilling to make that effort. It does not take any effort to be who you are. You are here now. Isn't it true? You're doing nothing. You're sitting here in the quiet of your own being. Some of you will have some mind stuff going on. But as I said, that's not who you are. Knowing that, you can just let that mind stuff go on. You don't need to get rid of it. I said last week, there was a components, you could say, of awareness which one could know that one is here now as awareness. First of all, is this recognition of presence. Do you know you are here? Yes? You know you are here. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to project it. You simply know, yes, I'm here. This is presence. Most of us get bored fairly quickly with presence. And we tend to go into kind of a torpor or a sleepiness. So the next component of awareness is a kind of alertness or an energy. You have this alertness and this energy within you, but often, if nothing really interesting or spectacular is showing up, or you're just sitting in a room in silence, the mind dims, right? The light of the mind begins to dim because the mind likes to be entertained. It wants something to do. But one of the characteristics of awareness is alertness or energy. We maintain alertness and energy by taking an interest in this presence rather than in the thoughts, the sensations, the experiences, the past, the projection. Rather than being interested in those habits of the mind, we take an interest in this recognition of here nowness. I am aware, I am here, I am now. This brings alertness, energy, light to the mind. But as I said, the habitual way of being is that we take an interest in what is going through the mind, what is being projected by the mind, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the experiences of the past. We take an interest in those things. And in doing so, we miss what is here now. Just simply here now, in this moment. This yes that comes when I ask, are you here? Are you now? Are you aware? And you say, yes, I'm here, I'm now, and I'm aware. But as soon as the mind becomes bored, it starts this conditioned habit of projecting again. So then you will sit here in the silence of your own being, but pretty soon you will be back home. You'll be with family members, you'll be with friends, you'll be outside of this room, you'll be going to lunch, be wondering where you'll go next on your travels in India. All of this will come up into this space. It's not a problem unless you think it's real. If you think it's real in this moment, then what happens is you are no longer here. You are no longer now. You are no longer in this presence of your own being. But as soon as you realize this, this is the conditioning of the mind, this is thinking that's happening. This is emoting that's happening. This is fear. This is projecting. This is not who I am. Not this, not this, not this. Neti, neti. As soon as this is realized, and this reference point becomes, what am I referring to when I say I? Even a mind that's busy recognizes its emptiness behind the thoughts. It realizes there's no value in the thoughts in this moment. You might come back to them later. You may have noticed that. But it won't take an interest in them now. And so you will be presence, which is here. There will be light and energy in the mind. And there will be this recognition of emptiness or presence, moment, awareness. Someone said to me when I explained this the other day afterwards, so does that mean I have to stop thinking? Do I have to make an effort to stop thinking? And of course, my response to them was, who is making that effort? And why? This takes us right back into the recognition that to make an effort to get rid of thinking reestablishes the sense of me-ness. I am in control, I am doing something, I am the doer. And it also causes us, in a reactive way, to try to push away the direct perception of what is here now. So the answer is no, you don't have to stop thinking. You don't have to make an effort to stop thinking. But it is helpful to recognize this is thinking. What is aware of this thinking? And look to that. What you notice right away is that the thinking that you were engaged in before comes to a halt, just disappears, just dissipates, dissolves. Because now the attention has moved from following that train of thought or making that effort to maintain some recognition about who you think you are. It turns back toward the source, which is that here now presence of awareness. It goes directly into this question, this natural inquiry into this question, who am I? Who am I referring to when I say I? All of this is the beginning of inquiry. Many people come to the beginning of inquiry. They do it a few times, 100 times, 1,000 times, and they say, this doesn't work. So they have to go looking for some other practice, some other way of being. This is because the inquiry is still here in the mind. It's still being kept as a concept. Even the question, who am I? So this person is then wrestling both with the concept I and the concept who. And this is why I'm recommending to you that you simply come to the recognition of here nowness. Realize you are here. Not you as a body mind, but as this recognition, I exist. I am. If I ask you, do you know that you are? What do you say? You know you exist. Is it enough? If you know you exist and you remain here, meaning in this moment, as awareness itself, then you can begin this process, if you will, of looking deeply within. And it's not by you doing something, it's by you being here as presence, awareness in this moment. If you are fully here in this moment, you seek nothing, you want nothing, you lack nothing. You are simply here. And it slowly begins to dawn on you that whatever is needed is already here. In this moment, you are whole, you are complete. You are not searching for something, you don't need something. You're happy in this moment, in this recognition of being, consciousness. And at this moment, all effort ceases. No more effort is required. Effort may be required later on when all of the conditioning, all of the projecting, all of the referencing through body, mind, and world comes back again, because this conditioning has a momentum, doesn't it? It's what's been going on in you for years, lifetimes. So this conditioning has momentum. So it likely will come back. But every time you notice, every time there is a noticing, that which is aware is here now, in this moment, and is being perceived as here nowness, as just this, whatever this is, without naming, without describing, without defining, whatever this is, there is this direct perception. I am here, I am now. I need nothing. Effort comes to an end. And by repeatedly coming to this sense of effortlessness, you come to know that there is nothing for you to do, nothing for you to project. To exist, you don't need to be somebody. You simply need to be and rest there. So easy enough, isn't it, to point to this? Easy enough when you're being guided toward it to get a sense of what's being pointed at. Easy enough, huh? More challenging is to stay here. But I just encourage you to keep coming back here. And it gets easier and easier to stay here. To be here as being, consciousness. To remain as awareness. Whatever is going on in body, mind, and world. Just keep coming back to this. Just this. In doing so, you will settle more and more deeply into this recognition. I am that, here and now. And of course, there will still be things which will come up for you to do. But now you can really ask the question, who is the doer? There will still be activity that will come, but you don't need to identify with it. You can simply live in the moment, in this moment of recognition, that what is coming and what is going is going. This was Bhagavan's pointer, his teaching. Let what comes come, let what goes go. So this is how to live in this a moment. Now, 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 now. One of my teachers years ago came to lead a retreat, and I was assisting her at that time. And so I was sitting to her left. And at one moment, she was talking, giving instructions for meditation or something. And at one moment, I noticed that there was a new watch on her left arm. And of course, you know, having a mind, we see something new. It's fascinating. We look. It was difficult for me at that moment because I just wanted to break into a laugh. Because when I looked at the watch, of course, the mind wondering not only, is this a new watch, but also what time is it? Yeah. Right? When we sit for long periods of time, right, this comes up a lot. When is she going to speak? When is this meditation going to end? When is this going to... And I looked down at the watch, and the face of the watch said, now, 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 in every position of the dial. Now, 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 now. You see, I never forgot that. This is a fantastic and simple pointer. Or on time. Yes, you see, that's important to notice, right? In now, there are no concepts. As soon as there's a concept, you're not now. There are concepts in the mind. We're not disagreeing with that, right? There are concepts related to experience. We name things, we experience things, we have emotions, we have reactions, we have responses. So all of these things are there. But all of that is happening within the realm of concepts. By the realm of concepts, I mean, it's all happening within our conditioning. Our conditioning tells us, I am late. Our conditioning tells us, I am on time. Now, there is no time. There is no on time. There is no late time. There is only isness. Nowness, you can say. Of course, most of us worry that if we don't always have track of the time or some other form of control, but that's a good example. If we don't have constant contact with the time, that we will somehow not be able to stay in touch with reality. But in fact, what we're doing is we are, as I said earlier, we're putting on a suit of clothes. We are structuring the experience of I amness through these concepts of time and space and place to be and thing to do. This is particularly difficult for those of us from the West. We're really oriented toward this. We come to India a lot of times and we hear this concept, well, where is he? Or we're waiting for the plumber. Well, where is he? It's like an hour later from when he said he would come. And then someone says, he's on Indian time. And we just let that go. This is a new experience for us from the West. When we say 10:30, we mean 10:30, and 10:35, we're starting to get a little bit upset about it, that the plumber isn't here. So by the time 11:30 comes, we are consumed. We are consumed by our expectation. So this is really good. India is really good for this, breaking down this concept of there is a me and a time and a necessity to anything. And of course, this isn't always true. There are times to be on time. There are times to pay attention to that from the relative perspective of respectfulness for human beings and for each other and things like that. So there's a place for that. We're not talking about there not being a place for it. We're talking about the reactivity when it doesn't happen, when there's an expectation. And this is true, isn't it? Whether you are from the West or you're from India, this expectation can still arise, and you can be disturbed by what doesn't happen according to my schedule. So we come to inquiry, to asking this question: to whom or to what am I referring when I say I? And this becomes our primary form of questioning and undermining all of these concepts that we carry. Because every time that one of those concepts enters the mind, whether it's about time or space or function, every time one of those concepts enters the mind, it does not enter without the preface, I. I am this, I am that. I want this, I want that. I'm going here. I am. This, and this is, of course, not the problem. It's that we identify with what comes after I. And this is why the inquiry draws us back through this I, because it is so strong. As the sages have said, it is the very first recognition in waking consciousness. I. We enter the body in the morning. As the samskaras rise, they awaken us again. We come into the body. And the very first recognition, not even a thought, the very first recognition is I. So Sri Bhagavan, Sri Ramana said, even if all you did, not even asking the question, I, or who am I? Even if all you did was just to stay with this interior thought-free state in which there's this recognition, I. He said, this, you can feel this. It comes like your heartbeat. I. When the mind is empty, doesn't it? Or in between the thoughts that are in the mind, in this empty space or gap. I. Can you feel this I in yourself right now? I. If all you do is that self-looking I, and then wait, everything else falls away.
Would it be right to say that ordinarily the I that we think of ourselves. It's just an idea of who we think.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So we're just ideating.
Yes. Yes, this is what I mean by we are just putting on a suit of clothes. And this suit of clothes is not unreal. It's manufactured from past experiences, from past ways we've identified, from past life experiences, from past experiences in this life. So this is a cloth woven, you can say, from experience, but it's in conditioning, and it establishes a form of conditioning. Yes. And then from then on, because the mind also, though it loves complexity, it loves simplicity. First, it loves complexity because it wants to be entertained. Secondly, it loves simplicity because it doesn't want to think about it twice. So once we say, oh, this is who I am, or this is how I, it's like, oh, I am male. I don't need to think about it again. But the question is, really? Look beyond that sense of maleness, or beyond that sense of femaleness, or that sense of wherever you are on that spectrum. Notice that you've identified, and you are accepting that to be a truth, and you are identifying with it. And if you don't do that, if you have the ability to ask this question, what is aware here, which doesn't get stuck in gender, let's say, as this example is, then what happens is we have the ability to start to turn toward the source and to penetrate through this ordinary understanding, we can say, of what I means. Yeah. It brings us to this point, this questioning, this inquiry, brings us to this point where we are almost like in a gateway. And if we turn in this direction and look out from the gateway, we are in ordinary I-ness, right? So we are in ordinary, I am male, I am rich, I am poor, I am from this country, I am from that country, this is my career, this is my spouse, these are my children. We're looking out into ordinary perception. Yes. If we don't identify with any of that, we're good. That's not usually what happens. Once we begin that outward flow, we turn in that direction, we look out, the process of identification and conditioning begins, is supported, and then re-emphasized through every experience we have. If we are also in that gateway, having used the inquiry, who am I? What is aware here? To whom am I referring when I say I? Now we are looking toward this infinite space of consciousness. This is the movement back toward the source. In both cases, the sense I is present. We are in the waking state. So in both cases, the sense I is present. But now we have the ability and the capability to distinguish between what is real and what is not real. What is the flowing out into identity or into experience, and what is the source of the whole expression.
So could we say that, let's say we are identifying with outward, yes. So, and maybe, I'm not sure, but then I think in our culture we look at Shiva as one and Devi as two. So could it say that identification is the process of Devi multiplying, because it's all about multiplication with Devi's nature, and then with the process of Shiva, it's just that oneness. Yeah.
Yes, of course, you can say that. Yeah, this is the whole foundation of this kind of symbolism, isn't it? Or this kind of recognition that within us we contain these energies, both the energy of stillness, which is the Shiva energy, and the energy of movement or manifestation, which is the Devi energy. We contain both of those. Yeah. And in essence, this is what I'm pointing to when I say, understand you are a gateway. You are a gateway. If you turn this way, you look into manifestation, production, and so on. If you look in the other direction, you are looking into being consciousness itself. And of course, at this moment, there is no you, is there? There is only being consciousness, which is manifesting as both stillness and movement, as both Shiva and Devi, as Shiva and Shakti, manifesting all the time. Because this is just its nature. We don't know why. This is just the nature of being. Yes. And the great benefit of the Vedantic tradition and the Hindu tradition is that it has given form, you can say, to all of what we can see within ourselves. If we look carefully enough and deeply enough, we can see all of these forms. And this is true of all the world's great religions. There are forms, there are outward manifestations, there are reference points, symbols which reference this deeper knowing. Yes. Yeah. The great benefit that all of you have now is, whether you realize it or not, you've become less interested in what the external forms are. And so now, what you have somehow been called to do, you can say you decided to do it, but you have just been called to do it. You will come and sit in a room where it's simple, quiet. There are not so many forms. And you will simply ask this question: who or what am I? This is an indicator that you are ready. You have lost interest in many of the outward forms. Whether we're talking about the outward forms of religion or spirituality, or we're talking about the outward forms of the world, you have lost interest in that. Recognize that. Rejoice in that. Know that that's you answering a certain calling to know who you are. You may still have an appreciation, a love for that sadhana, for those forms of God, of goddess, for the traditions. You may still have a deep love for that. I certainly do. But you have made the decision to do the one thing that most people are not willing to do. And that is to ask the question, who am I? And can I know the formless that is represented by all of these forms? Can I know myself as that? Because ultimately, all of the traditions, especially in Vedanta, but also in Buddhism, point us toward the recognition that that which is here now. It is not in another form. It is here. It recognizes itself, not even as a form, but as simple awareness, being consciousness, so that all forms, whether spiritually symbolic or not, are known to be manifestations of that awareness which I am. And then just this becomes enough. And the joy and happiness of knowing oneself and knowing that all forms are on this very same journey to recognizing who they are at their own pace and in their own way and at their own time, opens the heart of love for all of this, just as it is, even when it's messy.
Um, This week I was at a satsang, and what I understood is because I think it very much adds to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The question was asked, like, how does it work? Because they say the world is not real or it's an illusion, and then it was being said, the world is very real, but how we perceive it, we don't perceive it as one. We perceive it as many and different, separated from.
Yes.
And I found that so, adding to what you're saying.
Yes.
I've never really understood that. It's
Yes.
like, why is it an illusion? How does this work? But it's really within the perceiving it as oneness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, this word illusion always seems to cause some confusion for many people. So the sense is not that the world doesn't exist or you aren't experiencing it. The sense is the illusory quality is one can say, is the conditioned inability of perception to simply be here, now, and just this. The illusory quality comes from the mind looking over there or looking over here and overlaying the past from one's own experience on what is being experienced now. This creates that sense. This is actually the foundation of this word, the illusory projection. Everything is projected through the suit of clothes that's being put on, through perception, through conditioning over time. Everything is being projected. Everything is being interpreted through these. And so therefore it's said to be illusory. Having penetrated that tendency in the mind, having seen that for what it is, then one comes to just be here and just to enjoy the suchness of this moment, the isness of what is here. One can look around at all the arising phenomenon, but need have no opinion, no projection. Or if there is some sort of understanding going on, it is simply that is the self, 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 that is the self. All of this is the self. Illusion is gone. Because as you indicated, illusion is based in the sense of separation. So when there is only just this, that perception of separation is gone by implication. Just this. There is not this one and that one. There's just this. And all of this is that. See, now we are at the edge of words, huh? From here we can't go further with the mind. We can only step off into this recognition. I am aware. That which is aware is here now. This is the only recognition that's left. This is the end of separation, the end of illusion. Beginning of the dance of being consciousness in its pristine form, you can say. Yes.
So, so this recognition of I amness, isness, so on and so forth. Many teachers, including you, will say that if you stick to it, which is in itself very difficult, even if you don't have a very busy life,
Mhm.
but you have a busy mind,
Mhm.
gradually you start to dwell more and more in it, right? But my experience is that I think the dark night of the soul is when you get delusion. You see the world as an illusion, so therefore you're no longer attached to it. But that expansion hasn't happened yet.
Mm.
So basically, you're caught in a place in which you're basically living in a cell with a mad monkey, and he is your and you're his bitch, basically. And after 20, 30 years of doing this, what that expansion that I got, or I still get sometimes, is from an external source.
Uh-huh.
When you're in a point, when you're in somewhere or with someone that has such a strong spiritual energy,
Yes.
that will bring you to that place. And bringing you to that place gives you hope
Yes.
and keeps you going.
Yes.
Now, in all these places I've been and with the teachers that I've been, there's a honeymoonish period,
Yes.
and then you fall back into something that is basically, I don't know, gray.
Yes.
And even though you might not dream of a yacht, you might be dreaming of a cappuccino, you know?
Yeah.
But the mind is, you're always falling back into the vasanas that are drawing
Yes.
you on and on and on. And when you recognize that process, but you get caught in it again and again and again and again, and there's no expansion. It's a period of darkness. It's a period of like, where do you, I know you could say, well, just hold on to your awareness. You're aware now, but that doesn't bring any kind of consolation.
No, in this case, you have to question the doer. You have to question who's the experiencer, who is the doer.
I understand that, but it's still, you question it and then you get dragged away and then you forget to question it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking for an external source to bring you that hope, bring you that momentary feeling of the Shakti.
Yes. So recognize that until you understand the true nature of who you are, there is the necessity for some sort of placeholders. This is what you're talking about in terms of experiences of going to see people, going to pilgrimage, going to do these things. All of this is not to enlighten you. Okay? If you have this goal, you will always be disappointed by the failure of this expectation.
I don't have that goal, but I'm finding myself in a place in which there's no progress. So I'm basically here. I'm not
Yes.
looking for it.
You can't go forward.
Yeah.
You can't go back.
Yeah.
But do you also hear yourself saying you cannot stay the same?
Yeah.
You cannot stay the same.
Yes.
All right. So now I ask you again, who is this doer who cannot go forward, who cannot go back, who cannot stay the same, who has this expectation of progress or opening? Who is this doer? Find this one. I'm not asking you a rhetorical question. Find this one. Show this one to me. can see in your eyes that you're searching. Have you found him?
It's more like an impulse.
It's an impulse.
Yeah, it's more like a volcano trying to erupt. It's not even this eye, it's something.
And if you turn into that eruption, what do you see? What's the experience?
No, there are no words.
Are there no words because it has exploded, or because it has dissolved, or somewhere in between? You talk about an eruption, so that's kind of an explosion.
Existence.
And are you unhappy about that?
No. No, not at all.
No, not at all.
But it's coming out because I'm here right now interacting with you.
Yes, but you need to understand that that which is pulling you into this heart of being is what has brought you here. So trust that. You are simply in a place, not you, but this quest that you're on, this interest that you have, has brought you to a place where you can experience these moments of clarity, even just for a moment, or even for just a few minutes, because that's that place of you can't go back. You are required to keep coming forward because you cannot stay the same. Now I'm asking you to really look and understand that you are no longer the doer. You are being pulled in to the heart of being by the heart of being. You can surrender this seeking now. You can surrender this doing. You can surrender this judgment about now I'm in this isness or this suchness, and now I am not. You can drop that whole dialogue as the doer, interpreter, understander. You can drop all of those forms of identity, and you can sit, whether you're walking or sitting around, but you can be in the presence of this recognition of here, now, awareness. And if you move in the world now in this form, you can say, it's not a form because it's formless, but if you move in the world in this form of open recognition, you simply move through the world. There is not a doer moving through the world. There is no one to get anything. There is simply being, and this recognition of being which is here now. There's a sense of relief, huh? A sense of release. Let go of all this effort. You can't go forward. You can't go back. You will not stay the same. The gateway for not staying the same is here, now, recognition that that which is aware is here.
Yeah. In some ways, this letting go seems harder than doing self-inquiry.
Of course. You
So,
see, that's why it said self-inquiry is only the gateway. It's what happens when we look into this empty recognition of being consciousness, that all of the letting go has to happen. And this becomes the sadhana. This is the work. It's not just the question, who am I? It's a deep looking. It's a deep understanding that any place that you cling or grasp to a sense of I, a sense of the doer, a sense of me, a sense of mine, as soon as you begin to feel that sense of grasping, you also go along with it, comes the sense of suffering, the sense of separation. It's only when you completely turn toward this and keep saying, keep recognizing that that which is aware is here now, even though I can't identify it. I can't give it qualities. I can't say this is what it is or that it isn't. I can't say it's this experience or that experience, because it's no experience. It's what is. What is not an experience. It simply is. All is Brahman, the isness of creation, of experience. So now you have to put the doer down and you have to rest. You have to rest in this recognition. But when we have been seeking for lifetimes, or certainly throughout this lifetime that we can relate to rest in this non-doing and allow everything to be as it is, this is very challenging. This is why you say it's more difficult now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it should have been, with all this knowledge, with all this practice, the letting go should have been easier. But it seems that it's become harder.
Yes.
And to make it into a practice is a trap in itself.
Yes.
So you have to practice and not practice at the same
Yes.
time. And to deal with forgetfulness. We walk out of this room, it's gone. The next thought is a chai.
All of this is related, yes, but all of this is related to the concept that I am the body. It's not related to the recognition that
Yeah, I understand.
that who you are is transcendent, we can say, to past, present, and future, and transcendent to body-mind experience. But this is just a concept unless we have that direct perception. But you have had that perception.
Yes.
Stop denying it.
I don't. I just greedy to have it back. It sounds like, the process is
Then,
much longer than I. Yeah.
unless you can go this way, okay, let me give it to you directly. Give it all up. Give it all up. If you have come to the end, if you have failed over and over and over, and you really are at the end of seeking, give it up. Go for a cup of chai and be. Don't do, be. Go for a walk. Let what spontaneously comes come. And when it's finished, let it go. Give everything up. Because that everything that you are giving up is related to a false or illusory perception, an idea of who you are. So give everything up completely, surrender everything. let every idea, every thought, all the knowledge you have acquired over a lifetime of sadhana, of seeking, let it all go and see what is here. When there is nothing left of this seeker, you will come to know that which is. This what is has always been closer than your own breath. It is before the seeker. Drop everything. You are ready. Your frustration says you are ready. Then don't keep going back over the old ways. Be here. Now you have nothing to learn, nothing to do, no one to be. Now your life becomes very ordinary, and in that process, very well can become extraordinary. Simply be here. You see, the practices, the forms that I give here and that you all are familiar with. This is why I say they are placeholders. Because until you are ready to step into nothingness, you are so frustrated, you have failed so many times. Until you are ready, you can buoy yourself up. You can touch the divine through all of the sacred practices and the sacredness of the traditions. You can touch that moment by moment. But if you cultivate a new identity in that seeker, you will go on for a long time until you come to this place. You will notice that the practices, the traditions, the understanding with the mind, the books, the videos, the satsangs will all fail you at some point, and then you are ready to step into the recognition of being, consciousness, as suchness. And you may still hesitate, but at some point, the heart being, which has called you this far, is going to pull you into itself, and you will step off the cliff, and you will free fall. And that free fall will go on forever. You will be unwilling to identify with anything. You will know beyond a doubt that you are the self, being, consciousness. But you cannot bring me along with. There is no you that you can take along with yourself. You can only be awareness, consciousness, the heart. You can only be love. But this is not yours. You cannot possess it. You cannot own it. You cannot claim it. If you claim you are the self, then you claim nothing. Nothing on the level of personality, nothing on the level of world, nothing on the level of knowledge. You cannot claim anything. This is the free fall of the self, the ever expanding and opening heart. that which you are. Yes, please. Go in peace.
Is there a beginning to the free fall? Is there a beginning to the free fall? Do we really know when it begins?
So the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Because we are using a concept to try to illustrate what a feeling feels like.
Yeah,
yes.
the languaging.
Yes, languaging.
Mm.
Yes. We are always in free fall.
Yeah.
But when we are identified with the body,
Mm-mm.
we don't know that. Because we are desperately identifying with the body in order to keep ourselves in this sense of I exist. But as soon as we come to realize that without thoughts, without habits, without the suit of clothes that we put on, that still this direct recognition of existence is there. Life itself is here. As soon as that comes, life itself is here and I am that. As soon as there's even the smallest perception of that, the free fall is beginning to become obvious. So we can say it begins at that moment. Or at a moment like this where someone is willing to say, yes, I quit it all. I forget everything. I forget everything I know, everything I think I am, everything I thought I have been, everything the world has projected on me and I have projected on the world. I forget all of it. Now what? Then the free fall again begins. So we can say, yes, it both begins and doesn't be, because it's a concept, but it's pointing toward a self-existing recognition or realization that which is here, that which exists as this, has always been here. And this is a primary signpost, you can say, of self-recognition, is that there's a deep resonance, a deep knowing that all of this has always been true. And I just didn't see it before. Now I see it. This has always been true. My self-nature, that which I am in truth, has always been. And everything else was the illusory characteristic.
Coming and going.
Coming and going. Coming and going is always going to happen. The illusory characteristic comes about because there's a belief that what is coming and going is real or permanent.
Yeah, I have my favorite concepts, honestly, and I know them when they come.
Yes.
And I get consumed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I am not free falling, then I'm stuck. I go through madness.
Yes, but that's a dialogue that you're engaging in the mind. Because are you stuck? Are you engaged in madness at this moment?
No.
So you can see that that's not true. It's past. It was an illusion at that moment. It was temporary.
Yeah, but I get so consumed and identified that there's this very strange comfort in being sad or being
beautiful. Happy to see that you recognize that, yes.
And now I am discomforted most times, and then I'm like, okay, not being sad is uncomfortable. This is not a great sign. That questioning, but yeah, I recognize the free fall very much at the same time. So it's stark different realities coexisting somehow. And then I throw away all of that when I come to spaces like these.
Yes.
Both those things.
Yes.
Because again, I don't know how to function with memory or like anything that's happening suddenly, I've lost that dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then sometimes I go around the same road as a byproduct of this, but which is okay.
Just keep going.
Yeah, like then I just
Yeah, you are at this place where what will serve you best at this moment is to have faith.
uh-huh.
The reason you keep coming to spaces like this is because they give you a glimmer
Mm-mm.
of what it could mean to live in freedom.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So keep going. Trust that. Put more trust in that which is calling you home and less trust in this sadness or this past or this memory, so that you can begin to lose interest. Because when you say I fall deeply into it and it's very consuming, what you are saying is you are still, there is still a great deal of interest in that
story, yes.
that dialogue.
Yes.
But if you keep coming to spaces like this, you keep coming to satsang, you keep coming into the space of your own awareness, you see, because there's nothing happening here but your own awareness. So understand this is coming from the heart of your own being. I am not saying something as a separate being from you.
Yes, yes.
You are hearing this because this is what is in your heart of being. Okay? So understand that you do that so that there's less interest in that other dialogue, which is based in the past, based in conditioning, based in memory. You have less interest in that. And so for a period of time, it may feel like you take more interest in coming to satsang and coming in listening to a video or hearing or reading a book or going to temple. You might take more interest in that. But understand that that is just this heart energy pulling you in more deeply into itself, and it's letting you do it in a way that is comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Turning your attention away from that sadness, away from that storyline, away from that conditioning, and into, we can say, almost a new form of conditioning.
Yeah.
Huh?
Actually.
And actually, once you begin to hear your own inner voice, when you start to go into that kind of sadness, you start to go into that kind of discomfort, you hear your own inner voice, which may sound like this one's voice for a period of time, but it will be your own inner voice saying, that is not the truth. This is the truth. I know what the truth is. And so I will keep coming back to this recognition that that which is aware is here now. It might be aware of sadness, but it is not the sadness. It is the awareness which is here. It is the recognition of truth which is here. The recognition of the truth that I am not that. I am this here nowness, this suchness, this isness, which is before all the stories. Keep going, keep coming back. You see, for one who doesn't need practice, the practice has become a hindrance, we say, quit it. Don't do it anymore, drop it. Just be here. For the one who needs this redirection of the story, then there is practice, there is sadhana. We are always being given exactly what we need. And when we don't need anything, or when what we have been given becomes a hindrance, then we are told, nope, drop that. So always the self is saying, go a little bit left. No, now go a little bit right. No, go a little bit left, go a little bit right. Always throughout our sadhana, this is what's happening. And in the final analysis, we come to understand that nothing is happening. The isness, the suchness, the beingness of your own nature is here now. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't changed anything. It has not shifted anything. It may appear that way temporarily, but ultimately you come to recognize that which you are is infinite, unborn awareness. Hari Om Tat Sat.